All right, perfect. Thank you guys for hanging out for this third meeting here, or third talk about Round Goby, I guess. It is a lot of fun to follow up Scott as well, and Kyle, but it's also a little nerve-wracking at the same time, so hopefully we'll just get right into it, I guess. So just some background, we'll go through this a little quicker too, I guess. They originated Ponto-Caspian Sea region, both the Black Sea as well. They were found in North America in the 1990s. They arrived into the Great Lakes via ballast water. They expanded to different watersheds. I feel like that's something important to note as well. We can see in that USGS NAS map, you can see populations going down the Mississippi as well as the Hudson River, which was covered previously. The reproductive strategies, they have like a prolonged or extended reproductive period, and they share similar spawning habitat as some of our native benthic species, like our log perch darter. And this specimen right here is pretty cool. It's a very dark male Round Goby that we captured during this prolonged spawning time. Just some more about background. So the upstream migration of Round Goby, it's supposed to be we find it to be relatively slow. I did attach a value there. Less than 1 kilometer per year is what we see in some Great Lakes tributaries, smaller scale. And this is specifically non-navigable streams. So I guess what we're looking at here is basically a similar situation, but we're looking at off the Mohawk River or the Erie Canal. And then also I noted too that Round Goby do travel, or male Round Goby do travel greater distances, so they're kind of beating the invasion front. So looking at the sex data as well is important. We're going to get into some habitat preferences, which Kyle talked on some, how cobble is very important for benthic substrates. Cobble and boulder habitats are very important. They support reproductive success. They also help with predator evasion. And with this, you can see this goes just hanging out under that probably boulder full of dreissena mussels. It gives some foraging advantage as well. Now we're going to get to the diet part of the background, I guess. Dreissena mussels are the primary diet item. This is found in the Great Lakes and in these canal systems as well. They have pharyngeal teeth that help to crush these mussels that's for consumption. And but they also have shown to consume non-shell vertebrates. It's a shorter processing time, it's less energy used and more energy gained. So it's assessing these diet shifts to, I guess, predict like these overlaps with the native benthic species. And I included a photo of the zebra mussel, the primary dreissena of the Mohawk River that we see in this area, and as well as scud. In the distribution of dreissena mussels, they were found in the Mohawk River around the same time the Gobies got to the Great Lakes. In the Schoharie Creek, I just had no records, but we do know that during the summer months, when the Schoharie is ponded from the Mohawk River, that we do see basically dreissena mussels going up to about the Throy Bridge, which is 1.8 kilometers upstream. And then similar map as we've seen before, this is Round Goby records on the Mohawk River. First specimen was in 2014, and then you can see they made their way downstream and continued on the Hudson River. And then just to add that little cluster point of samples, that's not an indication of abundance, it's kind of just how many times we've sampled the area and continuing to monitor it. That's the Schoharie Creek, so skip that. And there we go. So basically that cluster of points we've done for the past few years, and basically we can look at it a little closer now. So the Schoharie Creek, Mohawk River tributary, it's the largest tributary. It's about 150 kilometers long. It originates in the Catskill Mountains. And I also included the timeline of these Round Goby records. So in 2022, we had them at the confluence. For me, that was at SUNY Cobleskill for an aquatic ecology class. And we captured specimens right below there's an aqueduct riffle there. Then in 2023, we were able to push the invasion front up to 5.6 kilometers upstream. Then this past year, we captured the specimen as far as 6.7 kilometers upstream. Now I'm just going to get into the objectives here. We're going to determine key habitat characteristics, depth, flow, percent embeddedness, as well as substrate that are associated with the presence. We're going to analyze spatial differences in age and growth patterns to assess how Round Goby populations vary in between metapopulations. So with this newly invaded area, we do have a small area that we can kind of have these two populations. So we're going to go ahead and also evaluate the diet composition and shifts and prey preferences between the upstream and downstream sites, so within these metapopulations. So I'm just going to show you kind of this, the map I showed you before, but we're going to have site codes on it. So we have 9 sites spanning 10.7 kilometers upstream of the Schoharie Creek. 3 sites at the upstreammost site, or parts of the stretch, do not have Round Goby records, so that's important to note. And I also include the slope intensity on this to kind of show how all of our sites kind of intertwine in between these riffle slope areas. For methods with these 9 sites, they were sampled in 100-meter reaches. We had 10 random sampling points at each reach. And we sampled for depth, flow, percent substrate, or percent metadness, and dominant substrate type. And these had paired backpack electrofishing surveys where we recorded presence or absence. We used binomial generalized linear models to fit this data in, and we used each habitat variable, so like the depth, flow, and metadness in different combinations. And then we stored these using AIC rank, and we were able to select which models perform the best. And here's that daunting list here, I guess, but we're going to go ahead and select, take it all messed up. We're going to, the depth, flow, and metadness was our strongest model, but it's easier to visualize some of the more simple ones. So we're going to use the depth, flow, and metadness. We're also going to pick a, just go back. I think I'll chop up, I guess, but the substrate model as well, that didn't perform as well, but something else that we can visualize. So the overall takeaway is the predicted probability of occurrence decreases with flow and increases with depth. It's an indirect relationship on the left and a direct relationship on the right. And ANOVA results show both these predictors are significant. With the flow and metadness GLM, so same deal kind of shown previously with the green there. The flow decreases the probability of round Goby occurrence or capture. The trend, I guess, we used a multi-comparison test to see if there was any differences between any of these percent embeddedness categories. And the only difference was between the 0% and 100%, and all the other variables or combinations were insignificant. Yeah, we did this with it's that model that didn't perform the best. So it's the same deal, probability of occurrence increases with depth. And we used the multi-comparison test once again. We found that none of the substrate categories really predicted round Goby occurrence well, but depth continued to. We're getting to the age of growth. So this is a part 2 of the study. So we had 2 sites. These are those meta populations. So we had a representative downstream site at SC 0.6, and then we had an upstream site at SC 2.4. There was a lot of sampling effort that went on upstream to see if we could collect a standardized sample or standardized population, I guess, to get enough numbers for this gut content analysis. But we figured that using the SC 2.4 was about the farthest we could get to get the same amount of number and the same data collected at the downstream site. We used 30 per site. They were between about 32 to 84 millimeters. And this was all in the first couple weeks of October there. The saduolas were extracted. We used the left one for reading just to ensure standardized method, I guess. Then we embedded the otoliths in resin and sanded them with 800 to 1200 gray sandpaper. And then here's the fun, colorful results. We have the downstream site. The downstream site that's indicated in the blue growth curve, and the orange growth curve is the upstream site. So the biggest takeaway is the round Goby upstream grow to a larger maximum size, and they get there faster, I guess, with their greater K value there. And we used a likelihood ratio test to see if there is a difference in between these 2 growth curves, and it was significant. So that's a nice takeaway from this figure. So now we're going to get over to the gut content analysis. So the same 30 round Goby that we used for the aging was also used for the gut content analysis. Round Goby lacked the true stomach, so we had, so basically you just use the entire digestive tract, and basically we just counted and identified all the species that we found there. Some other data that we collected was sex, length, weight, gut length, and gut weight. We also collected percent fullness. And this is the AIC rank. Again, we used a bunch of different combinations for this as well. We went with our best performing model, I guess, to visualize. And then here it is here. So on the left we have the downstream site, and on the right is the upstream site. And the biggest takeaway for me is that dry-seated mussels were absent from the gut contents in the upstream site. The site comparison was significant with a p-value greater than 0.05, and the sex comparison was also significant. Another thing to note too is the gut weight totals were higher at the upstream site, and the mean percent fullness, so how full was that entire digestive tract, that was also higher. And then we also used agent diet to visualize as well. Cronman's dominating diet for all ages and both sites. And I put the Ephemerata there. Mayflies basically made up for almost nothing, but they were found. And amphipod scuds were more prevalent in the upstream site where the dry scent mosses were absent. And another thing to note too is no H3 around Goby were at the upstream site. We're just going to kind of move into discussion here. Flow negatively impacts ground Goby occurrence. That's what we saw in this sample here. It's a very small subset, I guess. It's a very newly invaded area. We don't have enough populations to really pinpoint this. And this site is also highly variable too. Upstream sections, we know, there's higher velocity, there's shallower, and this may slow down around Goby invasion. As we know, it's relatively slow. But the downstream section looks like this. It's ponded from movable dams in the Mohawk River. There's seasonal differences. So this is what it looks like in the summer months. And then it looks like more like this during the winter season from November to May. And this could also hinder some of the, I guess, the mad populations too, but we know that they got above this. In 2022, that's basically right behind the aqueduct in the green. And then the yellow there, that is 2023 sampling. And this last year in 2024. That's where we have it. We kind of see like they're kind of like just waiting behind that slope. That slope intensity can be translated as riffles, I guess. So they're kind of waiting right behind the bigger one, I guess. And then part of the age and growth discussion. So we're going to talk about the variations of what may have influenced those growth curves. There's more energy gained from chironomids. There's less energy used, I guess. And same thing with amphipods. We're calling those non-shelled invertebrates. I guess the growth variations of location. It's a stressful environment downstream. It gets dewatered, like I showed in the previous photo there, from May to November, so that could have altered some of the growth rates for Asian growth. And then with sex too, I did want to look at this. I was able to plot them as well as male and female. Males should grow quicker, which they did here. But there was no significant difference in between the two. So basically, we can kind of rule the difference between male and females weren't part of this, and it was basically all because of the cycles there. For the gut content variations, ground Goby are adaptable to very bright items, so once the dry skin mussels aren't in the stream, they will select other items. They reach larger maximum size when consuming non-shell invertebrates. Again, this is just for my study, and it's very small scale. And then the diet shift, that's another thing to note here too. And basically, we're looking at a habitat overlap. So these are the round Goby records in the Mohawk, and then if we overlay the Dracenid records, we can see none of the tributaries to the Mohawk, the larger tributaries, have the Dracenid mussel records. It doesn't mean they're not there, but we don't have Goby points there either. So we're looking at a habitat or a diet overlap. So future outlook, we can include other streams. We have West Canada Creek, East Canada Creek. We also have Sequoia Creek, Briskany Creek up towards Utica. Basically do these similar things here because over time these populations will increase. We can do more engine growth, more gut content analysis, and more habitat sampling as well. And then possibly monitoring the native species as well, because that's basically the biggest thing we're looking at here too. Yeah, and I just point those out. That's West Canada, East Canada, and the Schoharie, which we just talked about. Thank you for SUNY Cobleskill. They helped with all the equipment, I guess, and data collection. A lot of the students came out to help me as well. USGS for some of the sample design, and as well as the sites. I do have a poster too, if you guys do want to talk to me after this. Another thing to note too, Sophie Gustafson has a diet poster as well that you guys should check out, so I'd be happy to talk about that. And with that, if you guys have any questions.